So you want to know this truth about David? Well, we are going to dive into a deep, scary story and what he has been doing to his fans, and to discover the destruction and the amount of monstrosity he has caused. As we dive deep into this story, you are going to discover many things David has done to you. Let's get started. This young man has a history of victimizing his very close fans. He is a person of interest and somebody who's known to love money. Let's just say that David Schlotthauer has a very long past of knowing to victimizing YouTube channels like Jesse Philbrand, who has suddenly disappeared from YouTube. Now, doesn't that name sound familiar? Yes, it does. It was one of David's first victims, also a friend in time. He started bullying Jesse into thinking that David himself was a good man and victimized Jesse by eliminating his YouTube channel. It was since then that his channel has disappeared. It is unknown to what really happened to Mr. Philbrand's channel. And to this day, we have lost a very intelligent young weatherman who David took down completely to despair. Who was David's next victim? As you may know, David victimized more than one person. Rest assured, this can get concerning. But the next victim David went after was Direct Weather. He knew that Direct Weather has a lot of power, and here's where things get interesting. And so forth brings what David thought he could attempt to crash down Direct Weather's channel to give Schlotthauer more traffic, and thus bring him more money and power. So it is by this fault of David's to assure that by this point is gaining a decent, robust financial income to support more of his power. He not only victimized Direct Weather once, but as of twice, he started copying Direct Weather's thumbnails, which then brought him into serious disturbing server raid and trouble. What was his server name called? Well, that server name is Weather Club. David does not learn what authority is, and does not listen to the aspects of when someone speaks a truth to him. Now, as you can see, David has a proven history of doing things to hurt others. Now, let's look at the other damages David has done to his fans. He has turned down many of his fans, which he claims in the beginning that he wants to be their friend, and then slams them into the wall without warning. So his third victim was a victim of copyright as well. And what do I mean by this? Well, David copyrighted Adrian's weather forecast thumbnails, which by this extent caused David to wind up making an apology video that was only scripted. He had more than one video based off of this apology. He made an original and then a scripted one. David thinks he knows his ways. But is that so? Or is he just causing a marketing and trafficking scheme to lure his fans into gaining him more power to take control over the financial institutions to cause more danger in life than he had already caused? David is an untrusted person of interest who is trapping those most vulnerable to his poisonous drink of death. David is nothing but a convicted trafficker of money, and takes it into his own hands to prove that he has more power over everyone. Well, let me tell you this. As of this point on, when everyone starts to discover that David's true color is being a convicted trafficker in finances and power, you will see the monster that is inside what seems to be an innocent star boy. But it is rather a wicked vial of destruction that he will bring into your life. Let me tell you that this man has nothing better to do but to terrorize and torture the people who come to him and see him as an idol of weather. but he could care less about what goes on in his mind about the weather. He may claim to enjoy, love, and even forecast the weather, but behind closed doors is more than just a weatherman. It is a demonic vial of pure hatred and devastation. Let's dive deeper into this devilish person of hate. David has a history of victimizing fans, but also has a history of being downright ugly to some others. What seemed like an innocent friendship between him and another friend turned into a nightmare. And as we may know, this is just the 5th fan that David has victimized for more than 4 months now. David and his friend had met each other on YouTube back in 2016. And when they had met, they had become friends. They had become so close as friends that even they considered starting a project together. And well, this project was based upon the monsoon, and how this weather event that occurs during the summer has its own severe components. As time went on, it was then becoming more and more fascinating with how this friendship was going. David really liked his friend. They had become so close as friends that even his friend would advocate for David no matter how hard or difficult the cost would be. After the first 2 years into their friendship, David wanted to start a Discord community. But it was by this that his friend suggested that that was a bad idea. Well, David started the process already and already was doing the Discord server. And for a measly 3 years, and really, technically a quiet 3 years, things have went steady and ease between these two. But all this torture started when during a live stream one afternoon, his friend was talking to David about some of the severe weather that his friend was getting in his city. And it was sure enough, David wasn't responding to his comment, eventually leading him to constantly try to get David's attention during this live stream. This is where all hell started to break loose in its beginning. A moderator on this channel, dubbed Tyler Base, told his friend to knock it off and stop the drama. And his friend took that to heart because he wasn't starting any drama. So he just wants David to cover his area for a minute. After that minor speculation occurred, things have slightly improved over time, but had declined again this past year. The declination of the friendship started when David staged a wind event. And to discover that David not only had staged that wind event, but had 2 other of his fans come over to his grandparents not even knowing that they were there, who he also victimized into just being more trouble. It was later found out that David had staged this wind event and made it a scripted apology video to cover up what he did. During the aftermath of that, David's server, Weather Club, was getting attacked and raided by other weather communities, eventually leading him to a disastrous Left Behind server. That friend that advocated for him before advocated for him during this month of January. But then later discovered that David had completely turned on his closest fan, which led into more attacks of this fan being attacked once again in another friendship between his so-called friend and another friend that supports this person. This was the starting point of where David was letting this thought of money to take over his mind. So let me ask you, are you going to fall into this man's poisonous cup of gold? Or are you going to report his attacks against his fans to show that money is not our power? It is how we as humans perceive this thought. This man is a threat and a danger to society and many of his people who follow him to this day. And I am here to protect you from his trap. that seems like a gold treasure chest sitting in the middle of a field, just waiting to eat you alive. So let's look here. Hashtag stop cyberbullying. Hashtag stop cybercrimes. Hashtag put an end. Hashtag stop the destruction. You all are wonderful people, and we just want to put an end to these constant attacks that David keeps putting against his own fans and community. We also want you to be safe. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your time and listening. Be safe, for David is a threat and danger.